building. Of course, my video is not going to show like how you usually see it, but I'm still going to talk about something. So I put WTF. I heard Robert Garcia say something I just didn't understand. Like, what was the best performance of the weekend fights? Hands down, Anderson Silva beating Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. Hands, hands down. There was no better performance. You know, he knew he was supposed to beat. He was supposed to beat. He was supposed to beat. What's the guy's name? He was supposed. Man, so this video is really breaking up. He was supposed to beat anyway. His opponent, Gabe Rosado, hell of a performance as well. But the guy he's facing wasn't a world champion or anything. He was an up and rising undefeated fighter. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., two-time middleweight champion. You know, that is not no small feat. Anderson Silva is not known as a boxer. His debut fight is against Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. And I mean, he dominates. He controls the whole entire fight. The most impressive performer of the weekend was Anderson Silva versus Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. Period. Period. And you might be offended that a Mexican fighter, Julio Cesar Chavez, particularly his son, got beat by Anderson Silva, who's a guy who's not a fucking boxer, MMA fighter. That's what he's known as. Oh man, that's a huge win for MMA. First of all, and second of all, it's an embarrassment to the Chavez family line. You know, so if Robert Garcia can't handle that, too bad. But that's what it is. That's what it is. My second WTF moment is an interview with Max Kellerman on KO Nation, KORS, I think it is, something like that. Anyway, and Max Kellerman is interviewed by okay, our stream is much better. He's interviewed by some, I think it was Barbershop Conversations, some other guys, and Max Kellerman says the most outlandish thing ever. He says that Manny Pacquiao is a better pound for pound fighter than Floyd Mayweather. That's sacrilege, man. Max Kellerman, and his argument is that Pacquiao came all the way up from flyweight. He won titles all the way from flyweight to welterweight, super welterweight, actually. And for a guy that came up all those weight classes to finally get beat by a guy in another weight class who's bigger, stronger, longer than him, that's okay. And he tried to do an equivalent of false equivalency, which is Roman Gonzalez versus Terrence Crawford. The thing about it, what Matt Kellerman does not get is that people grow into weight classes. Now, I could understand if Manny Pacquiao was a fighter who just went into welterweight, didn't fully establish himself. He wasn't a bona fide welterweight. He couldn't make the weight, and he fought Floyd Mayweather. Say he barely could make the weight, and he fought Floyd Mayweather, who's much bigger than him in that respect, and probably comes in on fight night 160 something pounds or something like that, right? That would have been totally different. That's not a case. When Manny Pacquiao faced Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao had been at welterweight since 2007. Okay? That's 8 years. He'd been at welterweight for 8 years. He was an established, bona fide welterweight. Manny Pacquiao comes into ring on fight night at 151 to 152 pounds. On the night that he faced Floyd Mayweather was his heaviest, he was 152 pounds. Mayweather came in that night 149 pounds. Okay? Pac is actually the heavier guy. And weight matters for power. That's why Tyson Fury is putting on so much weight against Deontay Wilder to be able to withstand Deontay Wilder's power. The more mass you have and the heavier you are, once you're functioning and you still have your quickness, your speed, your reflexes, all of that, the weight helps you. Okay? Now, if you want to go sensational, Pacquiao's a much more sensational fighter than Floyd Mayweather. Period. Hands down. I'm not going to disagree with that. But to tell me that Pacquiao was a smaller fighter against Floyd Mayweather because he came from flyweight is bullshit. Pacquiao began his professional career at the age of, I think it was 16, like Roberto Duran. Yes, he was a strawweight when he came into the game, but Floyd was also a strawweight when he was 16 years old. Floyd became pro and came into the pro game at the age of 20. When Pacquiao was 20 years old, he was already a super bantamweight. Think about what I'm saying. So Pacquiao started off as flyweight, but he outgrew flyweight rather quickly, and he became a super bantamweight. He didn't go from flyweight to super flyweight to bantamweight. No, he skipped two weight classes and went to super bantamweight. Okay, and then Manny Pacquiao stayed at super bantamweight for I think was a year or two, and then he went up to featherweight, and then he went up to super featherweight. Okay, so what you guys got to understand is Pacquiao began his professional career before Floyd Mayweather. That's all. He and Floyd Mayweather are the same size. I've said these videos over and over again. I'm going to say it one more time. Mayweather, Pacquiao, and Marquez are the same size weight wise. They're the same size fighter. To this day, Floyd can't even make. Has he ever even come in? I think he's coming. He came into the exhibition fight 155 pounds. That's it. Floyd does not top out. He does not make 160. Floyd can't even make 160. Okay, he tops out at 155 pounds. And what I heard Leonard Ellaby say is he lost weight going into the fight against Logan Paul because he falls somewhere in between 150 and 146. That's Floyd for his entire life. That's been the way how it's been once he went to welterweight. All right, and Floyd is like Pacquiao. They're really super lightweights. Okay, they're blown up super lightweights. They're not really welterweights, but they're so good they can perform at welterweight. Okay, because the size of an average welterweight, at least in this day and age, they come in on fight night fully hydrated. They come in between 158 pounds to 165 pounds. Okay, so guys like Errol Spence, he may come in because he has the IBF title. He may come in 157, 158, but really Errol Spence will balloon up to 180 something pounds. Me right now, I just weighed myself on the scale, and I'm 185 pounds right now. So I put on weight. I know most of it's water weight because I drink a lot of water these days. I hyperhydrated for a couple of days. You can't do it for a very long period of time, but you can do it for a short period of time, and because it washes out the flora and stuff inside of you. So I hyperhydrated, and uh, it really you put on a lot of water mass. Okay, um, muscle mass not necessarily, but I also eat a lot of protein and I use a lot of selenium, so I did also put on a lot of muscle mass. Okay, I'm much bigger. I look at myself in the mirror. I'm like, you got huge, right? So I really got. But the point is, Floyd has put on maxed out, and Pacquiao topped out at their maximum muscle mass. These guys eat tremendous amounts of meals. They consume a lot of energy. They're high energy guys, and I mean the meals these guys eat to maintain weight is just ridiculous. Okay, and they eat things like steak and just heavy duty stuff because such high energy output guys. They burn that shit down, and they still can't put on mass. Floyd loses mass between weigh-ins. To maintain weight, he has to eat just to maintain weight. People don't talk about this. Same thing with Pacquiao. They're the same kind of beast. Same thing with Marquez. They were the same kind of beast. So people don't know that these guys are really, Pacquiao at his best would be at 140. Floyd at his best would be at 140. And it's hard for Pacquiao now to go down to 140. It's hard for Floyd to go down to 140 now. But if they sacrifice, they would be killers at 140. Because the thing about those two guys is Floyd is basically, you know, he's performing two weight. When he went to super welterweight, he was performing two weight classes above his optimum limit. His optimal weight class is 140. Pacquiao's optimal weight class is not 135; it's 140. he can't make 140 now, but Pac is devastating. We saw him knock out Ricky Hatton like bam, right at 140. That's his optimal weight. That's where Pacquiao performs his best. That's where Floyd would perform at his best. Um, and so neither guy is really a true bona fide welterweight. You know, that's why people argue that Floyd wouldn't beat Sugar Ray Leonard and those guys, but that's not true because Floyd and Pacquiao are very special fighters. The reason, another thing, Max Kellerman said it was just stupid, is Floyd's longer than Pacquiao. So as a result of that, if Floyd was to go down in weight or something, I don't know what he was trying to say really. He'd go down in weight, he would be the smaller, he would be the smaller, so Pacquiao would be able to beat him. I don't understand it, right? Because how long you are has nothing to do with your weight. Okay, it just has nothing to do with your weight. But I think if you really wanted to see the height of performance between Floyd and Pacquiao, it would have had to be at 140. That is their natural weight. They tend towards being 140 pounders. That's the truth. Um, but it has nothing to do with that. It's just styles make fights. And what's Floyd supposed to do? He's supposed to chop off his arms or something? He was born that way. He was born with long arms. It's just what it is. you know? No how, no way Pacquiao would beat Floyd. It just wouldn't happen. Okay? It didn't matter if they were fighting at flyweight. You know? It didn't matter. Floyd was going to beat Pacquiao because of his game plan. It was the game plan he had that made him beat Pacquiao. It had nothing else. Floyd doesn't hit as hard as Pacquiao. He doesn't. Okay? But Floyd was able to control Pacquiao. Okay? And it's not that Pacquiao ain't walking through guys' shots. He's not just walking through shots. If you're a smart fighter, he's not going to walk through you. And Floyd's a smart fighter. He knows how to pick his shots. He knows how to dictate the pace of a fight. He knows how to send a certain body language, and he has a certain psychology behind him that he's able to control fighters. Okay, and that's not going to change because Floyd would be in a low weight class. It doesn't change. All right. And the other thing that people don't realize is, and I keep on saying it over and over again, I will repeat it: the Pacquiao that faced Floyd Mayweather is a smarter Pacquiao than the Pacquiao that faced Marquez. Way smarter Pacquiao. Okay. And people just never, I don't know, they never respect experience of fighters. They don't respect the experience that fighters have learned from in their careers with their mistakes and with their successes. They don't seem to realize that a fighter can get smarter, and because of that, they can be more dangerous. And Pacquiao is a much dangerous fighter than when he faced Floyd or when he faced Marquez. He really is because he knows where to pick his spots. He knows how to attack. He knows how to be patient. He doesn't throw as many punches, but he makes almost all his punches count. So Pacquiao's a tricky guy, much more tricky and much more cunning, much more veteran than ever before. That's why he's taking on Errol Spence, which a lot of you guys just don't get it. Pacquiao, I mean, I tip my hat to Pacquiao over and over. I'll say it again. I respect Pacquiao now. Like he sold me, and I am a Pacquiao fan. Okay, and I'm not here to put down Pacquiao. I said it multiple times on my stream. I think he may be the greatest fighter ever, right? In terms of just the entertainment value and just a whole bunch of stuff that comes with him. Okay, when you take the full package, I think he may not be the greatest fighter ever because Muhammad Ali sort of took that boat, but who knows? He continues to surprise us and astonish us. So if he puts on a competitive performance against Errol Spence, you got to dub him. We got to dub him up there in the top guys, man. We got to dub him up there in the top guys. Because he'll be in my top 10 for sure. Greatest fighters of all time. For me, not everybody else. I know. For me, Floyd's up there as well. He's somewhere in the top 10 as well. Top fighters of all time. Greatest we're talking about. He's somewhere in the top 10. Um, and when it comes to pound for pound, shit, Floyd made history himself. He's one of, in fact, Floyd and Pacquiao are one of 6 fighters in the history of boxing to win world titles in 5 weight classes or more. It's a very rare group. And lots of boxers have attempted to do that and have not succeeded. Okay? So when we're talking about Pacquiao and Floyd, we're talking about a very rare breed of fighters. We were so fortunate, as I say before, over and over again, to see these 2 fighters in the same fucking era. It's crazy. It's crazy. You're talking about like a Aaron Pryor versus a Sugar Ray Leonard. That's what you got. You got Aaron Pryor versus Sugar Ray Leonard. You know what we didn't get with Sugar Ray Leonard and Aaron Pryor, we got it in our era. It's not exactly Aaron Pryor, but Pacquiao's kind of like an Aaron Pryor, and Sugar Ray Leonard is kind of like a Floyd. You know what I mean? That's what you got. You got to fight like that. People just don't appreciate when black fighters win. If it's somebody else or some other race, they're overhyped. Tyson Fury is overhyped to the moon. I think he's going to beat Deontay Wilder, but I'm just saying. Pacquiao is overhyped to the moon. I mean, Pacquiao is kind of black, but the point is, Pacquiao's not seen as black, and so that's the flavor of the month. So people go crazy over that. You know what I mean? Triple G came on the scene. People love Triple G. I love Triple G too, but I'm just saying, you got more of the white mainstream audience that suddenly jumped on the Triple G bandwagon and they were all hyped about him because again, the novelty. Somebody who's not black dominating the sport. Suddenly that's it's like if you had a white rapper like Eminem when he came on the scene and just was a sensation. It's because the novelty of the thing. I get it. But my point is we need to be fair. We cannot be just shitting on black fighters. I see them shitting on Jamal Charlo. His performance was phenomenal. Phenomenal. All right. Don't get it twisted. Montiel also gets some shine because he did a phenomenal job himself. You know, he showed what his skills were. He exhibited his skills out there. He showed that once he didn't get stopped, he could show something. You know what I mean? And a lot of fighters, you know, they sometimes get under the bright lights or whatever, and they get stopped before they could really showcase what they really bring to the table. And we write them off. You know, I can tell you right now, Javante Tank Davis, he's gonna face shit, I forgot what the kid's name is from who's coached by um, um, Virgil Hunter, right? Um, I can't remember the kid's name for nothing. That kid's also versed in boxing. I look at timing. It's not just speed and quickness. Everybody wants to talk about speed and quickness. Speed and quickness don't mean shit if you don't know how to use them and you don't have the timing. Everything's all about timing, people. It's about timing. The timing of the other guy. It don't matter if you fast as hell, but if you ain't got the timing, it doesn't really matter. See? So I know Tank has timing and speed and quickness, but that kid is fundamentally sound. I want to see because he's undefeated as well, and he looked like he got the heart. I want to see because this kid got some tools that could give Tank some problems. All right. Now a lot of people they flip flop. I'm gonna talk to y'all about something. I'm gonna show you something. So I keep on trying to show you something. All right. You see me, right? You guys can see me. I know the feed is just terrible, but you gotta excuse it. I got a phone that is what it is, right? All right. So this is my reach. I'm gonna do it from the side like this, right? I have maybe a 70-inch to 74-inch reach, right? 5'10" and a half. So I probably have a 70 to 74-inch reach. Okay. Now that reach only works when I'm directly in front of my opponent. I'm gonna let that settle in your brain for a minute. So if the angle of my opponent is slightly off, if I am not, let's say I'm here, if I am not directly in front of my opponent, this is open for my opponent. I want you to understand, therefore, that boxing is a three-dimensional thing. If my reach looks like this means that this is open to my opponent. And you know how that happens? When my opponent drops and slips my punch to the outside or to the inside of it. Now I can, for example, throw a jab and then come what we call a 1-2, and we come with a cross down, okay? Like Sergey Kovalev did to Andre Ward. But you know what you're trained to do in boxing? Slip, 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 right? You slip the 1-2, okay? That is something in boxing. I want you to understand there are ways to get by a jab. I've been talking about this for a very long time. I have done many videos on this. I have talked about how Manny Pacquiao, Canelo Alvarez, and Floyd Mayweather know how to get by a jab. They know how to neutralize a jab and take it out of game. And because of their knowledge of knowing how to neutralize a jab, they, when they're jabbing, are very cognizant of those facts. Now I'm going to try and explain one more thing to you guys. Basic stuff. Whenever you're jabbing, unless you are very far away from your opponent, you need to know how to use your feet. What do I mean by that? Different people jab off of either their front foot. Some guys jab like this. Okay? Some guys jab like that. They jab off the front foot. Some guys jab off the back foot. Like this. Okay? Weight is put on the back foot. Some guys are imbalanced, meaning they're shuffling the weight on either foot, like I'm doing here. Almost bouncing back and forward. They're shuffling the weight. They're in balance. And then they jab. So you have to understand there are different jabs and different ways to balance your body or keep stability to throw a jab. Okay? But that's not the only thing. When you jab, you heard about stepping around. You can jab and step around. Or you can jab and shuffle. Or you can slide in and jab and slide back out at a different angle. See, jabbing is most effective when you have educated feet. It all comes back down to your feet. That's what gets you the angles, even though your upper body can also give you angles. How you change levels. Change levels. Okay? And not exaggerated stuff. I love Canelo because he do it deftly. Minor, just slight movements. So, all those guys are talking about Hearns would beat Floyd. They don't know what the fuck they talking about. He had a nice, sharp, fast jab. No doubt about it, Hearns. He had speed. But he also has a disadvantage. When you're that long, it takes a much longer time to get full extension on any punch. A shorter guy, he's able to get extension in a shorter time because he has less distance to travel. You look at Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., Omar Chavez Jr. versus um, Alvarez. I forgot what his first name is. Alvarez was able to slide in, cut the distance, and land left hooks on Chavez because Chavez took too long to throw his jab and get it back. It's not just throwing it, it's about throwing it and getting it back into defensive position. Because as you're throwing it, there's a big old hole there in your defense. You understand? So, boxing is a sport that a lot of y'all need to understand. It's all about angles, timing, and placement. You don't have to be the fastest guy in the world, but you need to be somebody who understands those three concepts I just said. That's how Floyd beat Zab Judah. That's how Manny Pacquiao beats longer fighters, taller fighters. Okay? So there are many different ways to cut the distance between a guy who has a long reach and yourself, a longer reach than yourself. There's many different ways to do it. You can do it by walking the guy down. You can do it by letting the guy come to you. Either way, there are several different ways to do it. But one of the most important things you got to understand is your angles. When the guy is off a wrong angle, or you can bait him into a wrong angle and send him down the wrong line. It's all about angles in boxing. But you can't do that if you don't have educated feet. XX Raw 2013 XX. Good stuff, man. Shout out to you, brother. A diary pennant says, I would like to see Michael Polite Coffee versus Kubrat Pulev on the undercard of Wilder versus Fury 3. All right, man. We'll see. Michael Coffee. That's a new guy. Michael Polite Coffee. I think I've heard of him. Is he the new Mike Tyson or something like that they were talking about? Anywho's, man. So boxing's a thing that's not just about, oh, he has a longer reach. If he don't know how to use it, don't make a difference. Just like with speed and power and strength. If you don't know how to use those things, PBC heavyweight, all right, cool. I'm gonna look out for him. I might even look him up on YouTube. If you don't understand how to use the tools or the gifts that you're given, it really doesn't matter. And again, let me just explain what I mean. You may be competent to a certain level in how to use your reach, how to use your height, how to use your size. You may be competent to a certain degree, but there's so much to learn that if you just stop with what you have and that's all you do, you're going to be left behind. Today's boxers are way smarter than yesteryear's boxers. Yesteryear's boxers just love to bang. Even the black and white ones, they like to go into their firefights. Okay? And nobody's mad at them, but it's just that boxers today are a lot smarter. So you don't get the knockouts that you're looking for all the time. Because guys aren't taking just plain old barn burner risk. They're taking calculated risks in the ring. Okay? So that's why I said I don't see Errol Spence knocking out Manny Pacquiao. Pacquiao's way smarter than people think he is. And it's because people underestimate Pacquiao that he's able to catch him because he has little tricks up his sleeve he uses to bait guys in, make them feel confident that they're getting their offense off, and then he comes with his counters because he's a counterpuncher by nature. Pacquiao's a counterpuncher. People don't know that. So is Sean Porter, aggressive counterpuncher, but he's a counterpuncher. All right. What you need in the building, man? I just want to set the record straight on some real dumb stuff I be hearing from people who supposed to know boxing. Max Kellerman, and then I was disappointed in Robert Garcia saying how he thought that Gabe Rosado's knockout of the Russian dude was the best fight, the best thing for the weekend. Get the flying hell out of here with that bullshit. Clearly it was Anderson Silva. Man's not even known as a boxer, ladies and gentlemen. He's not known as a boxer. And the polish and the control and the beatdown that he did to Chavez Jr., okay. So you might feel insulted. You might even feel embarrassed as a Mexican to see your Mexican brother getting his ass whooped like that. But I'm gonna say this: don't have malice in your heart for Anderson Silva. Canelo came and congratulated him after. This man has dominated MMA. And he came through in his first fight against a former world champion and dominated him. Shit, that shit don't. I didn't expect that to ever happen. I never expected an MMA fighter to dominate a boxer. Okay, it was the Paulie Malignaggi thing with the kid's name, the MMA guy with the bare knuckle brawl. But we feel that Paulie was robbed. But in this case, it was no robbery. This man clearly outboxed and beat the crap out of Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. He was walking him down and shit. I was like thoroughly impressed by Anderson Silva. I thought that was the best fighter. And the man is 42 years old. Come on, man. Man, Robert Garcia, man, you smoking some crack. Cocaine. And don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. Gabe Rosado, great knockout. Great stuff. Right? Great stuff. All right. This is a guy, young and upcoming fighter and all of that. But come on, man. I mean, come on, man. XX Raw 2013 XX says, I'm interested to see how Spence deals with Pac's awkwardness, like when he throws those punches at weird times. Yeah, Pacquiao is so fucking explosive, man. You know, he's so explosive. Now, Errol's cat-like. Don't get it twisted. Errol's not slow. Errol's plenty quick. And he proved it with Danny Garcia and with Mikey Garcia. He's very quick. Okay? He gets hit sometimes. Sean Porter's very fast. Um, but even so, I would love to see, because Pacquiao can throw body punches too. People don't realize he's a good body puncher. Um, and when Pacquiao comes at you, it's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 punches coming at you. Okay? He comes with a barrage and he's in waves. And he comes, So I love to see how Errol Spence handles that too. I think it's what you got to do is control range. And again, it's your feet. If you can pivot very well, pivoting is so critical because pivoting changes the angle. So if you can pivot very well, you know why Kell Brook was able to beat Sean Porter? Pivot work. Pivot work. I mean, Kell Brook showed us such graceful pivot work against Sean Porter. And that's the same thing that Errol will need against Pacquiao. Pivot work. It's that footwork that makes a big difference. Tremendous difference. When I say pivot work, I think a lot of people who do not understand fucking boxing thinks it means running all around the ring, covering a lot of real estate. That's not pivot work. That involves pivot sometimes, but that's not pivot work. All right? When I say pivot work, I mean turning. Pivots are turns. And when you can get your opponent to turn into a punch because you set a trap to him, that's pivot work. Pivot work works both defensively and offensively at the same time. That's why the most important thing and the first thing you should learn in boxing is not how to throw a punch, it's how to move, how to use your feet, how to gain your balance, how to have a proper strong stance. And a strong stance is not just a physically strong stance. A strong stance is a very good defensive stance. That is to say, they throw a whole bunch of punches at you and none of them hit you. That's a strong stance. Not only do they not hit you, but they don't knock you off balance, none of that. You have a strong stance. Okay? And for those people who have done any kind of martial arts whatsoever, they'll understand what I'm saying. Those people who want to start with offense in boxing, y'all need to get slapped around. And then you'll realize, no, defense is most important. You need like a Roger Mayweather or a Jeff Mayweather to have their pads in their hands and just be slapping you around. So you're still trying to throw punches, you don't know how to defend yourself, you can get slapped around the ring that way. Because the first thing you need is defense. The first thing the referee says is protect yourself at all times. If you don't know how to protect yourself, you cannot survive against a professional boxer. He will knock you out in the very first couple seconds of a round because you can't defend yourself. You leave yourself open, chin up in the air, boom, you out cold with a broken jaw, right? This ain't no game. Boxing's not a game. Ask Ali Bashir. Got his jaw broken in several places by a punch. Yes, he was punked, but nonetheless, it happens. So boxing's not a game you play. You know what I'm saying? You don't play boxing. What you need in the building, I just want to set the record straight on those two things. You know, I see a lot of things in boxing, a lot of things people say in boxing, but it's not true. Just not true. It's false. All right? Pacquiao ain't a better pound for pound fighter than Floyd. If that's the case, then what the fuck was Pacquiao doing below Floyd in the pound for pound list while they were existing in the same era? Help me understand that. Help me understand that. Why is Floyd at the top of the pound for pound list while Pacquiao is in his era? So he can't be ahead of Floyd in the pound for pound list in Floyd's era, but now he's ranked above Floyd in all time pound for pound list. How does that happen? How does that work? Okay then. So people need to stop with the bullshit and their biases. Now I love Pacquiao. I love Pacquiao to death. But we need to be objective about things sometimes. Not so much subjective and all up in our feelings about how we feel about a fighter. And people say, our guy that is up in my feelings about Floyd. Fuck out of here with your bullshit. Fuck out of here with your bullshit. I'm the only one that's coming from factual information. I'm the only one who's actually using factual information. Okay? A lot of people, they talk. They don't back up their stuff with actual facts. And again, people say, oh, well, y'all newcomers to the scene. Motherfucker, I've been around since 1979 watching boxing. So don't tell me about I'm new to the scene. All right, so that's all I got for now. I'm gonna catch you guys later, man. Listen, I want some of you guys. What's the? Let me see. XXX XX Raw 2013 XX, man. I wanna have you guys on a stream, man. I'm getting some StreamYard up, and you can jump on and you can say your piece live. We can see your face and everything, because at the end of the day, it's not just fandom. It's always about um, getting to know the people who come in and make comments on your channel, good or bad. It's always good. You know what I'm saying? So tomorrow, I'll try and make myself available around this time in the afternoon, around the nighttime, and we'll do a stream. Look how clear this stream is happening. This is good. Yeah, and we'll do a stream, and we'll see. I'll see how you guys enjoy yourselves, man, on the stream. Hop on the stream. Hopefully, this phone can handle it because this phone is not exactly the most powerful phone I had. I had some super powerful phones. This one's cheaper than all the rest. It's a crypto. It's a crypt. It's called a crypt. All right, peoples. I'm gonna catch y'all guys later. What you need out. Love you guys, man. Keep enjoying boxing. Keep doing what you love. In this COVID time, COVID is kind of unwinding. Soon we'll be able to walk around without masks by God's grace. I pray. I'll catch you guys later. Peace.